Back outside. Hey, everybody. Welcome. I'm super excited to chat with you today. This is going to be a really good discussion. MeLisa and I were chatting and we're like, oh, this is going to be good. So if you don't know, hi, I'm Abby Ashley. I'm the founder of the Virtual Savvy, and we teach people how to become virtual assistants. And it's been such an amazing journey. Been doing this since late 2016, leading people through the process of starting their own businesses. And one of the main things that gets people caught up, messed up, stopping even sometimes in their business is fear. So we're just going to talk about it head on today. This is going to be a really amazing live stream. So I'm so excited for those of you who are joining us live. And those of you who don't know, this is MeLisa. I hope I'm pointing the right way. I wish I was like really sitting next to you. Here, virtual hug. There we go. MeLisa is the COO of the Virtual Savvy. She has gone through the journey of starting her own business, coming onto the team, helping other people. And I'm just really excited that she's here to join me today. We were actually supposed to have Rachel. If you guys don't know, Rachel, she's amazing, has been on our TVS team for years now. And she recently transitioned from our head coach of the Savvy system up to our senior director of product. And so she is just involved every day in the lives of students. But she is, she's in Texas, and they are having like outages like crazy and no electricity and all the things. And that could happen here too. So if I suddenly just like go away, that's probably because there's outages here in Missouri as well. But MeLisa's smart enough to live in Mississippi, where it's so warm that they haven't even gotten any snow. So let's just all bask in MeLisa's wisdom. MeLisa, why don't you introduce yourself a little bit?
Well, hey everyone. MeLisa is my name. I am the CEO of the Virtual Savvy, and it has been awesome to be able to jump in here. It's been I always forget the amount of time. So it's been since 2017 since I've been here on the team as Abby's sidekick. I am her right-hand gal and take care of all the things she doesn't want to take care of.
My work husband, guys. That's what sometimes we fight like an old married couple, and it's wonderful.
I love you so much.
It's so funny because when we do, we're so different. And that's what's going to be really fun about today is because MeLisa and I are very different. So you're going to get two, drop my water bowl. You're going to get two different people's perspectives on fear and facing fear in your business because we are so different. But that's what makes us, work together so well. And it's funny because we don't really fight. Like we will go back and forth and have differing opinions, but it's so fun because we actually like dueling it out sometimes. So
I feel like people really need to learn from the way that we disagree, because you can present your argument, I can present my argument, and we can come together with an actual solution on how to solve the problem. It's like, I still don't care for that, but I'm and that's on both sides. People can learn a lot from us in the
your opinion, but here's why I'm right. No, just kidding. Awesome. Okay, so that's a little bit about who MeLisa is, what she do. So what she does here on the team. But here's what I want to do. I want to ask you, MeLisa, because you you have been through starting your own business. That was obvious its own scary thing. You have seen other people start their business, have kind of partnered alongside them as they've started their business. So what kind of fears do you hear from people who are in that beginning stage, who are wanting to start, but just don't know, like, oh, should I do this or should I not do this? What are some of the top fears that you see? And if you guys know of some too, like, go ahead and drop them in the comments.
Yeah, for sure. So number one, I think, like, hands down, is people are so scared they don't have the skills. And that's exactly where I was at too. People feel as though there's like this magic formula of like the skill set that you're supposed to have. And I will say that was exactly where I was at whenever I started my virtual assistant business. It's like, I don't know, like, I've done a lot of things. I've had experience with brick and mortar stores, and I've done like the assisting kind of stuff. But what does it mean to work online, and how does that actually play out? Like, what does it look like, and how does it happen? And I feel like there's a lot of people that feel the same way. It's like, what am I going to do? And I'm going to answer this with a completely off topic is what it's going to sound like answer, but it really kind of doesn't matter what you do. It's that you show up.
Mm-hmm.
Like literally, one of the things that people are most concerned with for the client side is like, I just need somebody to show up and be loyal to me. Like, I need you to answer emails. I need you to answer, whatever form of communication. Now, don't let anybody overstep that, but like, I just need to have somebody I can rely on.
Yeah.
And that piece right there blew my mind. I was like, wait, you don't care if I don't know how to use this tool? Like, you'll show me? You're going to teach me on the job training while this is happening? You're going to show me how you want this done? You're just worried about me showing up? I couldn't understand that. I literally couldn't understand that.
Yeah. It's so funny because we think about, it's like, this is going to sound like I'm whatever going down a train, but just hear me out. So like, it's the World Wide Web, right? Okay. So like the internet is very vast. And I think that sometimes we get intimidated because there are so many tools and websites, and it is its own separate world, right? Like all that there is to learn. And so the more that you accept, like, I am not going to know all of this, just like, I can't ask you, what's the best place to get tacos in Shanghai? Like, I don't know. Like, you don't know, right? Like, why would you know everything about the whole world? But why would you know everything about every tool that's on the internet too? Like, it's not possible. So what we do is you come in and you start to learn one thing, what's your little corner of the internet that you can come in, that you can learn, that you can get to know, right? And you do start to expand those tools, but there's literally no way that you'll know it all in the beginning. And I think that really does trip people up in the beginning, is it's just like, but I don't know how to do this and this and this and this and this. Well, a lot of other people don't either, and it's okay. And really, if you're like one step ahead of somebody in a certain tool, then a lot of times you can guide them and teach them and whatever. But sometimes you don't even need that. Like you were saying, MeLisa, there's been so many VA positions that I've been hired for where I will, get hired. They like my work history, my attitude, my willingness, all of those things. And I'm like, I do have skills in these areas, but not in, these 5 things that you want, I have. These 5 things that you want, I don't have, but I'm a fast learner and I'm willing to learn. And they're like, all right, let's do this. And they show me how to do those other things. Right. So right. I think that's huge for sure. Showing up is everything for sure. So what else? What are there other than like not having the skills? Are there other fears that you see people like commonly facing in their business?
I think support is a big thing too. It's like, my family's not supporting me. There's a lot of, kind of mindset stuff that kicks in. It's like your family's back there saying, or friends or whomever, is back there saying, does this person, do you really think you can do this? Or like, you've tried other things before. And, and so it's like that fear starts setting in because you're listening to outside sources. This group right here is amazing, like absolutely amazing, because there's so many people in here willing to support you. People like outside of our space don't understand. Even my husband, whenever I first started, he was like, he wasn't a doubter, but he was very optimistic. He was like, I really don't know what you're doing right now, but if you say you can do it, and if you say there's money in it, I'm going to trust you on that. And so he was very cautious and very optimistic on moving forward. But once he's seen that momentum going, then, he got excited and, money talks. And so he got behind me. But having a support system in the beginning is everything. So having somebody to, kind of counteract those fears and that negative mindset. So getting into a community like this one, we have the Savvy System community. If you're a paid Savvy System member, we have the Savvy Vault community if you're a Savvy Vault member, and those two communities are hugely supportive as well. So like having a good support system. And I know like we kind of talk about these things a lot, but it's just so true. You know, you get scared, like, what's my next step? What should I do now? Like, you know, having those resources in place, having that support system, jump in here. We love to support in here. And I think, yeah, like there's even comments I'm looking now. There's people in here saying, yes, you know, we love the support and stuff like that. So this group is different, and I think than some of the other groups, because we're not cutthroat in here. We really do try to help each other out. And so, yeah, just having that support system and not letting your mind get bogged down in the negative. Always look for your blessings. Always look for your wins. Always acknowledge what you've done to counteract that fear, because yesterday is like, it's in the past, right? And you're one step closer. You've done one thing. It's always one thing, you know, you're moving forward one step after another. And yesterday you done something and you put something in place, and today you're further along, and you can celebrate those wins in these kind of communities.
Yeah. It was interesting what you said, because that was one of my fears. It's like I was blessed to have a supportive community. I know that that's not the fact for everybody. Like we've gotten emails before from people where we're like, I can't believe somebody said that to you. Like, what are the nerve of some people that they're like, why are you doing that? That won't work. That sounds like it's gonna whatever. Like, it's what? Like, no, get those people out of your life. Like, those are not the kind of people I want to be around. Now, there are people, I will say, like, I get it. Sometimes people's heart is in the right place where they're just like, hey, I really care about you. I know that like XYZ, and that's different. But there are some people who are just straight up mean, and I'm just like, no, done with you. But for me, it wasn't outside people saying like, this won't work, you can't do this, whatever. It was my own brain. It was my own mind and the thoughts that would come in. And I would love to hear if you guys are like willing to be transparent, like, what is that thing that plays over and over and over in your head? Like, I can't because XYZ. I can't because XYZ, or I shouldn't because XYZ. For me, that was like totally, you said it, MeLisa, and I was like, that was it. This is just going to be another thing that you start and quit. Like, I'm an Enneagram 7. I'm a serial entrepreneur. Like, and I've even told my husband, like in the beginning, when I would have all these ideas, he would, you know, some of it he'd be like, oh, that's cool. And he'd get excited. But some of them he would like come up with the like, well, are you sure that this would work, or this, or what about this, or what about this? And I'm like, honey, like literally, I'm going to be onto a new idea tomorrow. So all I need you to say is, that sounds cool. That's it. Because tomorrow I'll have a whole different idea and you don't even need to worry about it. And so he started doing that. And it was funny because then the things that stick, I would bring up more and more. And then he was like, okay, now I can talk about some of the things. But I'm like, you do not have to figure out how to make this thing work, because tomorrow I'm going to be onto a different idea. You don't even have to worry about it. So that was always me. And so this literally for me was a this seems like a lot of time, a lot of energy, a lot of effort, a lot of putting myself out there for the world to see and be like, here's what I'm doing, for me to, in my head, be like, in a month from now, am I just going to be like, shh, quiet, that didn't really happen. Wait, let's talk about that, right? Like that was a big thing for me. And I think that one of the things that helped me overcome that was the fact, I think part of it was just self-acceptance, like learning, like I am this kind of person, right? Like that is very true. Like I just accept it as like, I am going to have 1,000 ideas. There are going to be nights where I don't sleep because my brain is just spinning so much. But like that's like how I was created. That's how I was made. And so, and I think that there's so many good things, you know, and I have to accept the bad bad with the good, that sometimes that means I start a lot of things and I quit them. But if I can latch onto something and I can stick to it and see it through, then we have, this is the end product, right? We've served thousands of students. We have a community of 6,000. We have 16 full-time employees. Like we've got like this amazing thing because I'm like, okay, I had to try all those things before I found the thing that stuck, And so I don't know, that was kind of my fear, and how I got past the fear was, for me, it was just kind of acceptance. It was like, yep, that's who I am. And if you don't like it, sorry.
There's so much to that though. Like I have a child with ADHD, and it's so funny because there's all these limitations and you can't do this and you have to worry about that and blah, 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 blah. But there's so many strengths as well. You know what I mean? And I'm pretty sure I have ADHD as well. Just never got diagnosed or whatever, but there is strengths in that. There is being able to kind of like bounce ideas around and understand like your mind kind of moves a little bit on a quicker pace or whatever. And so it doesn't matter who you are, what your personality is like. There's your tribe out there. Mm-hmm. Somebody out there is your people. Somebody out there is your people. And, you just have to find that group of people. There's somebody for everybody, and not just relationships, but in working environment as well. There's that group of people that you resonate with, which is a rollover. I'm seeing a lot of people talk about who's going to hire me. How am I going to get a job? That's scary, right? That is really scary, because it's one thing to say, okay, I know I have skills. I know that I'm marketable. I know that, I've got this experience in the background. I know that I've put my business together and I've got like all the stuff, but who's going to trust me? Like who's going to be out there to actually hire me?
Mm-hmm. And sometimes too, if I do get hired, am I going to mess it up? I think that's another one too that people have, like, once somebody finally hires me, oh crap, now am I going to mess this all up?
Yeah. So it really is like, going back to like, is there somebody out there to hire me? Y'all, I wish I would have thought about that question. That's actually a really great fear. I wish I would have thought about that before we jumped on and looked up a statistic. But Abby, do you happen to remember? Because I think you have that written down somewhere, like how many people are going to be freelancers or?
Yeah. I mean, by 2027, there'll be more freelancers than employees. Like remote work is it's the way of the future. People are getting more accustomed to freelancing. They're getting more comfortable with hiring people online. Like we have seen an increase in VAs. We've seen an increase in people starting their own service-based businesses, but we've seen an increase in hiring too. Like they're growing together for sure. So the people are out there. Like, is there a market? Like, that's not a feelings thing. That is just a fact. Like, yes, true or false, there is a market for virtual assistants. The answer is true. That is a fact. So we don't have to like have a fear about that necessarily, because that's just a fact. So then it's just like, will they choose me? Right? Or like, am I going to be able to market myself in the right way that they will choose me? That's probably a fear too. I think marketing in general really scares people.
Yeah. Let's stay there for just a second. We are not spammy McSpammers. Don't be that person. But go into groups, like find your people, like I was talking about before, find your group of people that you really resonate with and jump in there, and then just start like learning who else is in the group and just start having conversations. And y'all, it is never okay. Like never, just hear me out. It is never okay just to start DMing people. That will get you like blacklisted quicker than quick. So just stay off that train. Like nobody wants to go there. So don't DM people unless they have asked you to. So stay off the spammy train. But go in and talk, go in and start conversations and just kind of get to know people, form relationships. People want to hire people that they know. Mm-hmm. They really want to hire people that they know. They don't even need to know like all of your skill set. I'll give you an example. We went to a retreat, Abby and I did a couple years back, And there was, people were all there, we're all talking or whatever. Nobody knew if I had the skills to do what I said I could do. We just happened to talk. We had a conversation, and they're like, but I want to hire you. And I'm like, I'm going to be COO. I can't really leave this now. We're kind of doing this thing together. And they were like, but yeah, you could do this on the side. It's totally fine. Abby wouldn't mind. Like, they just wanted to hire me because they see me. They knew that I was a real person. They trust that I existed and that I was going to show up. So if you just form a relationship with people, if you just start getting in with people and just talk and, share the fact that you have a dog or whatever the thing is, and then add value. And I do want to point that out too. Like, once you start forming relationships, whenever you can add value, that's not a bad thing. Like offering somebody information and a help and a leg up, that's really, I don't know. I feel like we should all do that as a society. We should all help each other out. Like the rising tide lifts all the boats, right? That kind of thought process and idea. And so there's, tons of ways that you could add value to people.
Yeah, for sure. And I think that, again, I'm a very, it's so funny because I always thought I was a super emotional person, which I am. I am emotional. But as far as like thinking versus feeling, I cry at like commercials and like old reruns of Boy Meets Girl. Like I am a crier, but my brain is very logical. Like, so one of the things that one of the things that I do a lot when it comes to fears is I just face fears with logic. Like, I'm just like, okay, I did this class in college where they were talking, this is going to sound really cheesy, but just go with me. They talked about the feelings train. Okay. Choo choo. But like, you've got your feelings train, right? And there's different cars on the train, and your feelings and your fears are on the train. Like, you're not going to get rid of them, right? Like, they're going to be there, your fears, even your feelings about things. But it's it's facts and truth that have to be leading the train, right? So they can still be there, but it's like, but what's going to be driving this thing? What's going to be having the forward motion, right? So kicking your feelings to the caboose is not like throwing them off the train, but it's saying, I'm going to let facts and logic lead my decisions but still have feelings be there. Anyways, you guys get it. So that's what I do a lot of times, is that it's like, okay, so my fear is that I don't know how to market. Like, I don't think I'm going to be able to get clients. Okay, well, that may be true. Like, maybe you do stink at marketing. So then just get good at marketing, right? Like this is why I'm not a good coach, because people come to me with like their fears and stuff. And I'm like, well, then just fix it. Maybe I don't think I'm a very good coach. So I am a teacher, not a coach. So, but it's like, okay, I'm not a good marketer, then go out and like study. Become a good marketer. Like, it is a learned skill. Less than 4% of people are natural born marketers. Like, that's not, unless if, we talk Strengths Finder. I'm really into personality tests, if you guys don't know, but like Strengths Finder, one of them is woo, right? Like, are you a person that has woo and can just sell anything to anybody? Most people don't have that, right? My husband does, and I think my son does too, which is hilarious. He asks a new girl to marry him probably every week. He's 5, guys. I'm terrified. But like, woo is just, that's not natural for some of us, and that's okay, because marketing is a skill that can be learned. So teach the learn the methodologies, and then that fact of I'm not a good marketer will be replaced with a new fact. Now I am, because I've learned. So one of the things, and we can't get into all the because we could just sit here and tell you all day, like, how to be a good marketer. Here's the things to do and here's the things to not do. What I would suggest doing is go to this webinar, guys. It's really, really good. It's BBO become a booked out virtual assistant. And so we talk about packages, pricing, services, how to market, all of that we cover inside of this webinar. So I would suggest going there, if that is the fear that you're like, yes, that is my thing. Okay, then let's get good at marketing, right? Let's learn how to do this. So that training is definitely going to help you along the way.
I feel like a bobblehead. I'm like, yes, 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 yes. But that's a really good point too. Like, so I want to segment into this. Another thing that stops people is like, they don't know like really what to do. It's like, how do I even get started? Before I can even, let's not even talk about trying to get a client yet. How do I even get started? Do you know that our website has so many free resources? If you have not been to thevirtualsavvy.com, go. Don't leave yet because we have still more to talk about. But go to virtualsavvy.com. There's so many free resources on there. We've talked about so many different things in the blog posts. We've got one that, what is it called? Is it called resources? No, it's called spam. Not spam.
Click on the spam button on our website.
I'm doing really good with my live.
Stuff we all get, the swag files.
The swag files. Thank you. Yeah, hit up the swag files. Do you know the gold that's in there? Don't try to figure it out all yourself. There's resources that we give you for free. And if you don't like our personality or the way that we do things, there's like an entire internet out there. There's so many places that you can run to, and YouTube and Google. There's a lot of different places that you can learn from. We are the best, my humble opinion. But
I feel like this live stream should be, let's talk about fear, aka how to Google your way out of into reason and logic and not be fearful. No, because the fear is going to be there, right? Like fear is a feeling, and fear is so it's still going to be there, right? Like I was friends with a motivational speaker, and so he traveled all over the world, would speak to crowds of tens of thousands, 50,000 people, right? And he did this day in and day out for 10, 20 years. And he would get up in front of these stages. And he told me, every time I step on stage, I still get that like feeling in the pit of my stomach, like, oh gosh, what am I going to do? Right. And like, did it stop him? No, obviously not. But like that feeling of fear, you can't necessarily get rid of, right? Like that's not just going to go away. But the games that your mind plays, those things that go on repeat over and over and over, sometimes we don't even know that they're there too. That's a huge thing for me, is writing them down, like giving a name to your fear. Like, okay, I'm scared of XYZ. Well, write it down, like write down all the things. Cause sometimes just writing it down, you're like, oh, those are actually ridiculous. Or sometimes they're true, right? I'm afraid I'm going to be a terrible marketer. The truth is, I am a terrible marketer, but I can get good at it by learning, right? So like that, I think the writing it down, putting fact to your fear is really important. And then another thing too, MeLisa and I have the same kind of like business coach that we work with. And one of the things that she has told me is the best way to fight overwhelm is with a plan. And that's like when you were saying, like, I don't even know where to get started. There's so much, like that in and of itself can be scary. The like, I just don't know which direction to go. I'm afraid to misstep. Like I'm afraid I'm going to make the wrong step in my business. Heads up, you probably will. Like that's fact. You probably will make the wrong step at some point. But like, so the best way to fight overwhelm is with a plan. So that's why it's literally, we've had the same freebie for years, but I really encourage people to go to like use our checklist. Okay, I don't need to know how to market and do all those things yet. All I need is number one, choose my services. So let me do that. Number two, this. Number three, this. And if you're just working through a methodical plan, then it helps fight that feeling of overwhelm.
Right. Oh my gosh, I love that so much. With a plan. And I want to touch on something that you said earlier is fear is an emotion, and you fight that with fact. And so a lot of people, I've heard people talk about too, if you put words to it, or if you give it, like you put it out in the air, then it becomes true or whatever. I don't really agree with that statement. Like that way, whenever you put words to it, or whenever you write it down, or whenever you're seeing it and you're visualizing it, just like what you said, you can go back and decide, okay, well, how am I going to fight that fear? And like real true steps. I love that. To like get over that. And then you're able to then like even talk to somebody else. Like, do you have this fear too? And like, how did you get over that thing? So yeah, I think it's very important to do those things. I actually recently just realized a fear that I had. I was listening to a lady's webinar, Shannon Irvine, shout out to her. She does a lot of coaching or whatever. And it was just one of the freebie webinars that she had. And she was talking about like these internal fears that you've learned since you were a child. And one of mine is that I felt like I wasn't good enough. Right. And there was a whole lot of things like built up from when I was young. And I just felt like I didn't have the opportunity. I grew up like really poor, and so like the opportunity to make good money, that wasn't available to me. I didn't go to college, I didn't have any type of formal education, but here I am. There's so many things that you can do once you start fighting those things that you really, once you put words to them and you realize what they are, you can get through those things. It's so good. I love the practicality of just literally writing it down and then coming up with your own mantra. One of the things that I say is like, I can do hard things well. Like,
oh, that's good. I got chills when you said that. It was so true too. You really can do hard things well.
Thank you. And a part of that fear is the fear of unknown. That's why we're scared, is because we don't know what's on the other side of that fence. We have no idea. We think that the grass is greener over there, but we have no idea. Like, that's the bottom of our fence. I don't want to jump that fence. Like, I'm so scared what it's going to look like over there. It's the fear of the unknown. And, once you get to the other side of that, if you realize you just make a plan and start just stepping one in front of the other, like, it really becomes a small thing. You can't climb a mountain with one step. You have to take small steps halfway up. You cannot grow from making $0 a month to $10,000 a month. That is an unrealistic expectation, and you're setting yourself up for failure. You have to make that first $100 just to get started, or whatever that dollar amount is. You have to make it like step by step. Take too large of a step is going to really just kind of beat you down. And I kind of wanted to touch on the personality thing that you had talked about. I keep pointing over here. I feel like you should be over here. You're over there. You're over there. We talk about our personalities, and I do want you to kind of step into that a little bit. I'm a 1, and I have like this.
We're talking Enneagram. So someone asked about it earlier. It's ENNEAGRAM. Hopefully I said that right. Enneagram. We're really, really big into the Enneagram here at the Virtual Savvy. There's other really great tests out there. There's Myers-Briggs, there's DISC, there's Strength Finders. I love all of them. And I think that a big part of it was like, in my 20s, I was like my young 20s, I was just like, I don't really know who I am, but the things I do know about myself, I don't like, and like all these different things. And like, I started taking these personality tests, and it was like, oh, like there's a reason I am who I am. One, I was created this way. And like, even though these are the things that I'm frustrated, look at all the good things, right? And the things that are my weaknesses, I can look at them and I can work on them, or I can just be okay with them too. Sometimes you need to work on your weaknesses, and sometimes you just need to be like, yeah, this is the way I am. But there's a good difference between the two, which whatever. But yeah, Enneagram is the personality test that we're talking about. So go ahead. So it's a series of 7 numbers, or no, 9 numbers. Sorry. 9. So you're a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, or 9. And MeLisa on the scale is a 1. So tell me about a 1.
So a 1, we are very factual. It's like, for us, it's not a lot of gray area. It's like, it's black and white, and we're like the moral compass, and it's like, this is right or this is wrong. And because I don't see in gray, I see in black and white, I get a lot of fear. It's like, I am so wrong on this. I'm doing this totally wrong. Like, it's so bad. It's like, it's the horriblest thing in like on the face of this earth. And whenever I get it right, well, then I'm like, oh, this is exactly how it should be. And this is like, and that's my perfection coming in, you know? And so with fear, it's fear of getting it wrong, right? And so I have like this massive imposter syndrome that jumps in with me, and they're like, it's screaming at me, telling me that, you know, you might do this wrong, you're probably going to do this wrong, this is going to end up being wrong, or you did this wrong, and it's like fighting that. And so Abby, on the other hand, is a 7, and so tell us about 7s a little bit.
So I am a 7. And an Enneagram, like I told MeLisa, this is going to be like super transparent. Like right before we went on this live stream, I was like, I don't know if I'm really the best person to do this, because sometimes I feel like I don't even know if I want to say this on camera, but I'm going to. Sometimes I feel like I don't have a lot of fears, because I'm just kind of like, well, let me try this. Like, Enneagram 7s are kind of probably the least risk averse people, which means they can get in a lot of trouble, you guys. Like, we are the ones that, like, all the mistakes you're scared of making, MeLisa, we're just the ones that actually make them. So like,
yeah, I jumped off a roof.
I jumped off a roof once, guys. It was really stupid.
Nope.
Like, why did I do that? You know? And so like, and that's where, you know, the power of community is so good too, because like MeLisa and I are so good for each other, because I'm just like, let's do this. What's the worst that could happen? And she's like, well, I will tell you what the worst that could happen. A, B, C, D, E. And I'm like, oh, that's good. You thought about this, you know what I mean? And so I think that that's why community is so important, is because we can have those people that can balance the like, let's take big risks, let's do big things, let's whatever, with the like, yes, but let's do it strategically and methodically, and not just run after things without coming up with a plan and things like that. So I think that's really important. So, you know, and I know that I do have fears, obviously, like, mine are usually, they come on. So, they come on at different times. So I will have fears. They're usually more about like my family or things like that. Like, I'm like, I'll be fine. Like, that's a Enneagram 7's mantra. I'm fine. Everything's fine. We're good. Everything's good. Right. Because we just always look at the positive, and we avoid pain at all costs. So it probably, I just don't think about the fears, but like, with our kids, like I will, like those sometimes, if, you know, my son's like walking around the edge of the trampoline, I'm like, oh my gosh, like, why are you walking around the edge of the trampoline? And then I have to think to myself, I'm like, okay, like, he's 5 years old. If he falls off, he could break a limb, but he probably won't die. So I'm going to keep letting him do this, because kids need to have some adventure in their lives. And he's really just walking around the edge of the trampoline. It's fine. You know, like, I do have to like do the logic thing when it comes to that. So yeah, that's kind of my personality and how it breaks down into fear. But I think we all approach it differently, right? And so what your fear looks like is, you know, it may be more your own brain speaking to you. It may be the fear of what other people are going to think, or it may be that I fear if I become more business mom, then does that make me less mom? You know, like, am I going to be there less for the people in my lives? Or like there's just so many, right? And, you know, I think that, again, writing it down, like, because that's a real fear. So acknowledge it. Like, if I'm here more for my business, does that mean I'm here less for my family? Okay, maybe like hour wise, that's true. So how are you going to combat that? Okay, I'm going to have set aside times. These are going to be my work times. And like with me, I have to be really, really cautious about, you know, this is my work time. My kids know mommy works. They know mommy works hard. But when I'm outside this office, like, mom is mom, and I play hard. Like, I play with my kids, and we do movies, and we do experiments, and we snuggle, and we all these things. And I'm like, you know, my little mantra that I have to say a lot is I'm fully grounded, or no, now I'm going to mess it up. I'm fully present, engaged, and grounded. Because sometimes I have so many ideas that I'm like, I forget to just be with the people that I'm with. And so I will, when I'm with my kids, I have to like be with my kids. Because I think there's probably a fear of like being like the bad mom. Like I'm too caught up in my business. I turn into this like whatever. So, okay, well, that really could happen if I am on my phone 24/7. So don't do that. Let that happen.
It really goes back to like not giving fear the control, right? Just combat it with facts. Like you really can get through so much stuff. There was a cartoon. I have 4 children. So there was a cartoon that we had seen one time, and I can't remember what it was on, but I remember there was a child that was afraid of the dark. And I think it may have been, okay, regardless. But there was a child that was afraid of the dark and would see like all these visions of shadows and stuff like that and feel like, this is a monster over here and this is a whatever this is over here. And so then the dad, I think it was the dad, came in and flipped on the light and showed him, oh, well, that was just coats like piled up in the corner. And that was just toys over there. It's like once you really shine the light on that fear, and once you really are able to look at it and visualize it, you can fight it with fact. And that it literally is just an emotion. You can't allow this emotion to take over. And you can't allow an emotion just to stop you from all the things that you could possibly accomplish. Because on the other side, of fear is oftentimes like real true success.
Yeah.
Getting past like all the things that I had, like, internally, like, oh, you'll never be able to make it. You were the poor little girl from, the middle of Mississippi or Louisiana at the time, poor states, you can't make anything of yourself. It's not true. It's like, no, you are in control of you. Don't allow anything to stop you from doing you. Yeah. And whatever that looks like, it's like, you've really got to embrace that. And just don't let fear have the control. You are in control of your journey. Nobody else is. You're answering to yourself. You're helping, like when you take your step forward in a virtual assistant business or in anything that you have, you're doing these for your reasons. Obviously, your whys, whether you've verbalized them or you've internalized them, you're doing them for your whys. Yeah. And so like seeing that and really keeping that in the forefront of your mind, it's like, why am I even doing this? And then it helps to kind of like move past that fear as well.
So what happens? This isn't on our list of questions. So are you scared?
No, because I didn't plan for any of them. So it's totally fine. I'm not scared. No fear.
So because the reality is that sometimes your fear, it it comes true. So like fear of like, I hate that I'm going to bring this up, but I feel like it's a good point. So like, MeLisa, when you said that like your fear is I'm going to get in and I'm going to like mess something up or I'm going to whatever, do you want to tell the story? Do you want to talk about the Chicago fire? Because I feel like it's good. It's so good. It is good. We're talking about, it's not really the Chicago fire. We probably should not name it that. I feel like that's probably a little disrespectful. So
it felt like
Chicago fire. So let me set the scene and then MeLisa can tell you what happened. So I am I'm speaking at one of my first like little conferences ever. Amanda Bolin, she did it her way. She did this little conference. This was years ago. And I'm in Chicago and I do my first ever speaking event and it was all sorts of fun. And then there was a little speaker dinner after. So I'm at the speaker dinner and I get a phone call from MeLisa. And MeLisa, what did you tell me?
Okay, so I feel like I need to set my stage as well. So we had a Facebook ads person who was needing a list, was needing our entire list, our entire email list. She needed the entire email list. Well, I'm the CEO of the company. Okay, I don't have to do a lot of the technical stuff in there. And I had never downloaded our list before. We use ConvertKit. I had never downloaded our list before. I was in the middle of cooking. I had it was 5 o'clock in the afternoon, 6
Melissa
o'clock.
has 1,000 children.
I have 4, but it's all boys. And so it
feels like a lot.
Yeah. So I'm cooking or whatever. She's like, hey, look, I really need this. I've got to get this out. Can you get me the list? And Abby's out. This is when our team was small. Okay. Our team was really small. So I was like, I can do that. I can do hard things well. Not this time. Not this time. So I Google real quick, how do I download our ConvertKit list? I go on there, I'm seeing what looks like to be the right thing. And I tag, I tag everything, and I'm downloading. After I did that, then it pops up tagging your list. I'm like, wait, tagging? What do you mean tagging? And so I'm reading into it. It literally tagged our entire list with every tag that we have. So people bought stuff, they canceled, they just joined, they're pausing. There's
if some of you guys were maybe on our list, this was a couple years ago, we had 30,000 people on the list, and every person on our list got every email, every auto email that could be sent out. So you could have gotten 20 emails from us all at once being congratulations, here's access to this, here's that. You canceled. What do you think about this? Let us tell you about a VA. It was all the emails all at once.
And I was like, wait a minute. All the emails. Literally. And one of the things that Abby is, oh, look, Kim says that she remembers that. Yeah. That's me. And so I did not. Now ConvertKit actually has changed. And those things are no longer in place. It flags.
You can't do what MeLisa did. They changed it. Yes, you're welcome.
You're welcome. And so Abby was incredibly and still is protective of our email list. So if you are on our email list, just know that she is not playing with your email. You don't get anything unless she approves it. She's very specific. And I was like, my life is coming to an end right now. I could not even, my biggest fear was happening at that moment. I froze and I didn't know what to do. I just knew that I needed to make somebody else aware of what had happened, because I did make a massive mistake, and every person on our email list received every single email that we had. And I needed to make it stop. How do I make this stop? Who can solve this problem? What do we do to help mitigate what's going on? And so by owning up to your fear, it is never okay to hide something. It really isn't. It is never okay to hide something. I think that's probably one of the things that Abby's learned about me is if I mess up, you're going to know about it. I'm going to tell you. I'm going to own up to it.
Yeah.
And that's probably one of the things that has really formed the trust between me and Abby is I don't mind telling you that I've messed up. And it's what helped Abby trust me. It's what helped our relationship, I feel grow to an even deeper level. Is she knows that she can rely on me. I might mess up, but she can rely on me to come to her and say, hey, this is the issue. This is the problem. Is there anything else that you want?
No, I just, here's what I think is cool about this story. This was not just a way for me to just publicly humiliate and let MeLisa tell you about her biggest fear coming true. But here's a couple of things that really stick out to me. Your worst fear happened and you survived, right? And let's even say, let's say that I was crazy mad and was you're fired, which I would never do in a million years because you're amazing. But if I was nope, that's it. This was too big a mistake. Then what? Right?
Mm-hmm. Then what?
You still would have recovered from it. It would have hurt and it would have sucked and it would have whatever, but you would have recovered. And that doesn't mean that you're not skilled and you're not, it's whatever. So I think that there is an element of maybe your biggest fear is that somebody is going to, maybe your biggest fear is that someone that you really, really love is going to tell you that this is a stupid idea and that you should give up and blah, 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 blah. And maybe that actually happens. You know what I mean? But guys, like even the worst things that could happen to us are still like everything is recoverable. Like and I think that community is big in that, but like, surrounding yourself with people that will tell you like it's okay. Get back up. Like any person that you see and that you admire, whether it's, a business owner or just a family member or just somebody famous, whatever, like an athlete, like they fell, they made mistakes, like Lord knows I made lots of really bad mistakes in this business. But like, that's how you grow and that's how you get better. And I think that, realizing that like sometimes our fears are going to come true, but like, that's okay, and I think you do have to get down to sometimes like when you write out those fears, look at them and be like, okay, let yourself go there. Like, what if this really happens? Like, would I recover? And the answer is going to be yes. And it might suck. We say this a lot of times. Sometimes in the Virtual Savvy, internally, we're like, we can't take the suck out of this. Like sometimes there's been situations where we're like, this just sucks. And we can't take the suck out of it. But like, here's the plan. Here's what we're going to do. And that's another thing that I think MeLisa did so well when she came to me at this. It was like, hey, here's what happened. Okay. Like this, are you sitting down? She called me and she's like, are you sitting down? And I'm like, no, what's going on? She's like, I need you to get alone and I need you to be sitting down. And I'm like, oh my gosh, somebody died. That literally was my first thought, was somebody died. And now she's going to tell me this in front of all these speakers. So when she told me that, like, we emailed every person on the email list, and my response, I was like, well, at least nobody died, like it's not so bad when you think about it like that. But like, she told me, here's what happened. Here's what I've already done to resolve it. And here's what I think our next step should be. I already have this person working on this. And I was like, oh, okay. So there's this massive problem. There's this massive thing that happened. And essentially you're saying that you're completely taking care of it. You're amazing. Like, thank you. Like, I mean, that's literally what it was. And I think she just handled it like an all-star. So this is so good. Oh, here we've got some good questions. I think this is a good time probably to transition to some questions if you guys have. Oh, this is good. Sonia says we've all survived 100% of our bad days. It's so true. Yes. Right?
Yep. I mean, unless you're doing like something really, really bad, you've probably survived it. It's totally fine.
Yeah. Well, if nobody died, it can be fixed, which is true.
Sorry, that's so good. Yeah.
Okay. So Brenda said, can we fear success the same as we fear failure? Can you speak to that? You can do this thing, but you fear your life would change too much. Oh my gosh. Yeah. So this is actually a really good point. So I haven't in a long time, but I used to have like panic attacks. Not very many. I've had, I think 4 or 5 maybe in my entire life, but the first panic attack I ever got was during I think it was the second launch of our course. I haven't told very many people about this. So like, I launched the course, right? Our Savvy system is called the VA Bootcamp at the time. There were 16 people that came in, which was awesome. We made like $8,000 in a weekend. And it was like, okay, like I'm doing this thing. I'm a course creator now, whatever. And I built my list. And the second time we launched, it was a $40,000 launch. And I did not know what to do with myself. I did not know. And I had to go to urgent care because I thought I was having a heart attack. And that was the first panic attack I ever had. It was just this overwhelming feeling of like, oh my gosh, like I did it. Like I did the thing. Like I had looked up to course creators. I had studied course creation. I had all of this. Like I wanted to help people do what I had done. And then it was like, you did it. And it like my body and my mind didn't know how to process it. And for me, I think that starting to unpack it later, like obviously I had to get through that moment first. Anybody who's ever had a panic attack knows that you just have to focus on breathing and get through the moment. You can't even think of the why or the whatever behind it. It's just like, nope, just have to get through that. But later, going back, I definitely had to go through this, like, what was that, you know? And I think that that fear of success was true. And I think it's the same as everything else, right? It's the same as everything else that we've talked about. Like, the reality is, and I'm hoping and I'm expecting for most of you guys, is that this thing is going to take off. This is going to be successful. Your life is going to be different, and you're going to be able to quit your job or travel more or pay off debt or whatever. And for a lot of us, we're like, yeah, I can do it. And for some of you, we're like, whoa, that is so much change that is scary, you know? And it's again, it's the unknown. So I think that that unknown is overwhelming, and we fight overwhelm with a plan. So that's why I love to have people mark out how much money they're going to make, plan it out. Then what are you going to do with that, right? I'm going to pay, I have a place for this to go. I'm going to pay off debt. I'm going to whatever, you know, like Rob, my husband and I, now we have goals for our finances. And it's like, okay, what are we going to do when this thing happens? And we have not changed much as people, I don't think, with like more success in the business, but like the values that you had then will show, you know? And so we, like one of our core family values, two of our core family values are, choose adventure and irrational generosity. Like those are two, they're actually like irrational generosity was our business values too, but they started out as family values. Like we came up with a family. What are our family values? And those were two of them. And so those things, just with success and with money, if those are actually your values, they just get bigger, right? So like we now try to think of even more grander ways to give irrationally, right? Like we can have fun with it too, which is really, really fun. Like our dream is to someday like have a foundation where we go and we film people as we're like doing these irrational acts and like things like that to like inspire others. And like we have dreams around that, right? Or we and then choose adventure. Like our adventures have just gotten more fun and more whatever, you know, like we can be like, let's just go to Arizona for the weekend, and we can do that now, right? So it's I think that coming up with your core value, that one in particular, is like really knowing your values, and then dream a little bit, is that going to look like when success happens? So come up with a plan for your success.
Absolutely. And it could even be like just kind of getting a little bit more like before you get way big or whatever, but like those initial success steps, you know, it might be like it's taking up more of your time, right? And so those first steps may look like you have to just get more strategic about your schedule. That might be the first steps. Second steps could be like hiring team members. So again, it's just like coming up with a plan on how are you going to handle the success. Yeah. I'll be completely honest. I have never had a fear of success. Like, bring it on. Let's do this. I don't know if it's about my personality. Like, it is right to be successful. And so we're going for it. I haven't had that particular fear, but like, what are you going to do, you know, once you have all of this in motion? How are you going to take it? Now, I will say this. When we started adding on employees here in the business, I had a little bit, it wasn't fear of success. It was the fear of failure, but it was with the success piece. It's like, okay, if we add on all these employees, like how am I going to manage all of these employees, you know? And so it was that, and making sure that we were able to pay them. So it was the bad stuff and it was the good stuff. It was like, what am I going to do with these people? Am I going to be able to manage them well? Am I going to be able to lead them well? Am I going to be able to, download my brain into their brains and help them to figure out what they're doing? And then on the opposite side, it was like, what if we can't pay them next month? What if something catastrophic happens? And so it's like, those fears or whatever of what does it look like for the future? Yeah. And it's planning for that.
I was going to say, but those are good fears like that. I think that sometimes reframing our fears is like, well, okay, like, like, what if we couldn't pay our employees? Well, we make a purpose that we always keep 4 months of total expenses for our business.
Mhm.
4 months is in the bank. So and that's something we had to work towards. And we're actually working towards it again because we're planning to grow this year. So we have to have more in the bank and all these different things. But so we have 4 months of expenses in there so that if something crazy happened and our every funnel and everything broke and we had no income coming in for an entire month, well, we'd be okay. We'd have to shift, we'd have to pivot, but we'd be okay, right? And I think that is, it's another thing, let your fear trigger, okay, if this actually happened, what would I do? And is there anything that I need to plan for? And I think that there's an element that could get a little obsessive. So don't go too far. We don't have a year of expenses. We have 4 months of expenses. So you have to be this is good enough to make me feel comfortable in this area. And yeah, you have to reframe the fear. There we go. Reframe the fear, turn it into a plan. Let let truth lead the train. Your emotions, they're still there, but they're following behind. Because so often it's the other way, right? We have our feelings. It's truth is still there. It's just in the caboose. I know in the back of my head, blah, 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 but my fear, da, 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 da. I know that this is true. I know this is true, but my fear, and we're letting the fear lead it instead of boom, other way around. Okay, I have these fears, I have this thing, but the truth is that bam, bam, bam. And that's what's going to move us forward. So thank you guys so much. This went by super fast. That usually happens when we're having fun. So I hope that this was helpful for you. This was fun for us for sure. And just like we said, if you are looking for that step-by-step plan for your business, you're like, okay, I want to fight overwhelm with a plan. The best plan is our checklist. Literally, it's step by step. Here's what you need to do to start your business. Okay. So go with it one piece at a time. Know that we are here for you. Our community is here for you. Let's just be transparent people. Because man, isn't there there's community and transparency. If you guys are here is my fear, and you post about that in someplace like our Savvies group, I guarantee you are going to be hit with nothing but people saying, here is truth, here is truth, here is truth, right? So let's be that for one another. Thank you guys so much. Have an awesome rest of the day.
Bye, y'all.
Bye.